Hey guys, here's another quick vintage hat tip, and this one's going to pertain to if you have any old straw Panama hats or Milan straw hats or any old straw type of hat that somehow got either torn or ripped like this through the brim or in any spot. Okay. So the first things first is what you're going to want to do is clean the hat. And just like a leather sweatband, the straw is a natural material, so if you just clean it, it will dry it out. So you got to moisturize it as well right after. But from what I've learned, one of the best ways to do that is if you just get some normal baby wipes. Those are meant to do exactly both those things. Clean it and moisturize it at the same time. So this is pretty cool because you could just use the one thing. And so all you gotta do is take the wipe and very gently and softly, you could put your hand on the inside to support the hat, but wipe the hat down, clean it, and you're gonna wanna go as if you were brushing your felt hat, just go in a circular pattern around the hat because the weave is circular and you don't wanna mess the weave up any more than it already is. And then when you go to clean it, it's very important to clean the area that you want to fix. But when you go to clean it, you have to be very careful not to catch any of the fibers on the cloth because that can rip it and make it worse. So, go very gentle over that area. Now, I've already cleaned this hat, so I was just doing that as a demonstration. Now, basically what we're going to do to fix the hat is we're going to use a fabric glue. I have here Fabric Fusion. I wouldn't say it's the best. It's just what I tried and it worked well, so that's what I use. You can use any kind of fabric glue that dries clear and is flexible once it's done, and that'll work just fine. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to clean it, boom, and then before you're going to glue it, you got to take that rip and try to basically somehow align it so that the weaves are interweaving like they were before it ripped. It's kind of like a little puzzle, and they're like messed up because they get ripped, and then you want to get the fibers lined up so that when we do this, you can push it together and it'll just basically be like it was when it was woven. And all you gotta do is add a little glue after you do that part. What I would do for something large like this rip here, this one's like 2-inch rip in the brim. So what I would do is I actually wouldn't do that whole thing at once. I'd do it in small sections. Start over here at the edge of the brim. Try to line up the fibers and squeeze a little glue in that first rip. And then what I do to get it to go in is I use my finger to kind of rub it into the crevice. But you got to make sure your hands are clean when you do this, because if they're not, when it goes to dry, it's not going to dry very clear. It'll be more visible than it would normally be. Wipe it off a little bit, and then before the glue sets, I'm just going to take my fingers and push the fibers into themselves like they were when we were trying to line them up. And then this is the fun part. You just sit here and blow on the glue to help it dry quicker. Basically all you're doing here is you're trying to push the fiber weaves back into themselves. Just blowing on it, letting it dry. Okay. Now, that's set enough that I can let it sit by itself, but I probably wouldn't move on to the next section for another 4 or 5 minutes or something like that, but I'm not going to sit here and make you watch it dry. But that's basically the whole process. make sure you clean the hat, make sure you moisturize the hat. You can do that all in one step on straw with baby wipes. Oops. Get a clear fabric glue and make sure it dries clear and make sure it dries flexible, and line up the fibers and glue them together, and that's it. Here's an example of one part I already did, but the glue is not completely dry, so you can see a sheen to it still. But there's a rip that I already did, and it's visible on top, but I didn't add any glue to the bottom because that's what's going to be mostly visible, since this is on the back of the brim. It's going to be flipped up in the back most of the time, and so only the bottom will be mostly visible. And where the rip was right here, and you can hardly see it. You can see basically the two ends where some of the straw was gone, got ripped off, so I couldn't reweave it back together. But yeah, so hopefully you guys like that. Hopefully that helps. Thanks for watching.